Subtitles are available for anyone who needs them. For the record, this video was originally created for cats, but it has been translated for inferior human minds here. You can watch the superior version through the link in the description. Fish are the best! It's no secret that I am a big fan of eating salmon and tuna. I've made jokes about this, though the leading treat in my channel tends to be key lime pie, which I am also a massive fan of. But there's something I'm always surprised by when it comes to fish, and it's just how many fish I can actually name. I even have favorite species of fish like arowanas, gouramis, and even red snappers. Though I guess also sea bunnies for obvious reasons, despite my current vocabulary. I wonder how many people are still watching the original. But if you're observant, you probably noticed right away that all of these fish, except sea bunnies, were featured in Animal Crossing, a franchise I like so much, it's literally my thesis project. And though I could talk about how cool it is for games to end up teaching us stuff, from biology to entire languages, as I have first-hand experience in, I really feel like talking about something else, particularly fishing mechanics. There's this saying that says, this game cannot be a GOTY contender because it has no fishing minigame, and it appears due to just the sheer amount of games that happen to be really fun and complex, yet somehow still have a whole fishing mechanic around it for no reason. Of the last 5 games I played, 4 of them feature fishing somewhere in there, and the awesome part is that the mechanic is always different. In Mario and Luigi Brothership, you buy bait, and depending on whether you make Mario or Luigi cast a rod, you get different results and fishes. In What Remains of Edith Finch, you have 2 fish-related portions. In one you're doing this menial task as suddenly a whole story starts to happen like this is some sort of TikTok trend, but there's also a portion where you have to chase down an innocent fish as a shark. And yes, I fucking hate this part of the game. No! Forager, which was a bitch to complete 100% but not as much of a bitch as its developer, had a fishing mechanic where you just cast your rod and wait. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp includes a watered-down version of the mechanic as seen in other titles. You tap the screen to cast your rod there, and then tap again once the fish bites the rod to catch it. You can also cast a net to catch like everything in the pod, whether it's like fish, garbage, or a cold. The one game I played recently that has no fishing is Banjo-Kazooie, which is only really fishing for insults as I get to the 50th water level in the game. Somebody please send help. See what I mean? All of these games have fishing, but all of them do it differently. They try to capture different aspects of the real experience of fishing, some focusing more on the low speed of the activity, some portraying it as a hunt for narrative purposes, some focusing on the equipment you need in order to successfully fish, and although none of the examples I've brought up so far focused on it, there's also plenty of games that have a large emphasis on the part where the fish is meant to be reeled in, or even some of the focus on the environment in which the fishing is going to take place. Like yeah, this is the nature of games, same way that combat and even walking is different from game to game. However, it's not often that you get to express the personality of a game through these little details. While it would be exaggerating to say other elements don't do that, which would be entirely incorrect, the reality is that there's very few occasions where those elements wouldn't matter. Of course, if the game is going to feature a robust combat system, then the combat has to carry a personality and style and focus. This is not the case with fishing, unless the games are about fishing primarily. Like, obviously if you look at fishing in River King, you're going to encounter absolutely no surprise when the personality of the game is fishing. That's like the entire point. And though the way fishing games do fishing is still very interesting to discuss, I don't believe fishing as the focus is any more interesting than any other element as the focus. That's because, of course, a fishing game needs fishing to do its fucking job. Web fishing has fishing in its title, but it's meant to be an online experience to mess around with friends and just generally chat while you fish. So its fishing mechanic is designed around that. And being that the game conceptually needs the fishing, the amount of personality it's meant to convey is extremely high compared to a game that features fishing as a dot and a dash to pace out the gameplay. I'm more interested in those scenarios where the fishing is an addition to the whole experience because the goal of those segments is a lot less clear, more interesting to look into and discuss. They don't have the task of either simulating the real experience or working the mechanic to fit into the fundamentals of the game's intention, leading to really fun results that I often find very memorable. I must say there's one exception to that which came to mind like 20 times while I was talking about the last part, and that's Dredge, where you could argue the focus of the game isn't exactly fishing, but rather being a fisher. It's very peculiar. Personally, I think it counts as a fishing game, but it's true that the specifics of the game aren't very similar to other games that feature fishing as their main mechanic. The game divvies its loop with traversal of the map, the actual fishing, and the inventory management that most immediately limits your efforts. You end up going from place to place for a great part of the game, down to even escaping underwater sea beasts in a semi-frequent basis. That's kind of exactly what I love about fishing minigames, and Dredge happens to extend that to the whole product of the game, but it's one of the few examples. It boils down to a question that I probably should have gotten to sooner. What feelings is the game trying to convey? Good games have a thing many describe as a feel. Dredge, as an example, has this sense of dread and serenity that spins around each other in tune with its game loop, which results in the creation of a very intense and effective gaming experience. The way a game makes us feel is just as important as the game's actual mechanics, and fishing minigames are an excellent way to communicate the feeling of any game, making for a ridiculously powerful tool, particularly because the feel of fishing can be portrayed through a wide variety of scenarios and emotions. Let's look at an example near and dear to my heart: Sonic. Sonic has featured fishing in its games 2 times, and though probably a coincidence, those 2 times align heavily with my favorite games in the franchise, excluding Sonic Adventure 2, which I also adore, but it has no fishing in it, so I'll have to find another video to gush about it, much to my disappointment. Sonic Adventure and Sonic Frontiers have very different vibes. Adventure is full of vibrant visuals and words, features multiple playable characters, all with a different style, the soundtrack is brimming with loud rock themes that emanate an energy that wants you to get up and move, and the story has characters crashing ships and bickering with each other for a variety of reasons. Meanwhile, Frontiers is another beast. The worlds are huge and open with realistic grass and nature spreading across the horizon. You play most of the game as Sonic, and even when you don't, you're still exploring the vast areas and jumping on the occasional acrobatic set piece. The soundtrack is silent and introspective, and the story steps back from the recent failures of Sonic's writers, with characters coming to terms with the oversimplified mindset they've been displaying. Remember that time Knuckles sent like half of an army to die for no reason? Both of these games feature Big the Cat, who is awesome and I sing his theme every time there's a windy and sunny day. And Big the Cat is synonymous with fishing because Buddy is a cat, as implied by the name, which means both games use fishing in their own way to convey the feeling of the games. Adventure 1 sees Big get free movement around these levels, where he can cast his rod into any surrounding water with the objective to catch Froggy. The player gets some control of the rod, and once the fishes bite, which you have to press a button to do and the game doesn't fucking tell you, leading to the game corps embarrassing a whole generation of players who have clearly not played the game themselves and assume Mr. Content Creator wasn't stupid, which is another embarrassing fallacy unto itself. Sorry, that was a tangent. And once the fishes bite, you gotta balance out your speed and direction to slowly but surely reel in the fish. The music is very high octane, and the capturing process can take a long time. It's difficult. Trying to catch the fish too aggressively can lead to the lead breaking, which is apparently so heartbreaking Big just dies on the spot. Turn to Frontiers, which lets you approach Big to receive a fishing rod to use at his secluded pond that's not really part of the game world. You get this lo-fi beat to do your fishing, and once the fish bite, you gotta time a quick time event to catch the fish for minor rewards and occasional jokes. This is the awesome part. Look, both games keep the style and rhythm of the other game modes, despite the fact that they paint fishing in entirely different ways. This is what makes fishing in games stand out to me, the way I see fishing in Stardew Valley, and it presents a small challenge with a genuine learning curve to go along with the other mechanics that slowly let you get a handle of the activities. Then you see Minecraft, where you get one of the slowest game mechanics specifically designed for those people who would rather take their time within the game, but that doesn't stop fishing rods from also being usable to pull around entities or even other players, adding a layer of freedom to the concept that echoes much of the other core principles of the game. I want to say something about Dave the Diver because it's one of those mindlessly fun games, and its fishing mechanic is also through diving, which is a whole other style of fishing that doesn't get nearly as much attention because you can just slap it into any game that simulates anything. So now you get this offhand mention of it that's gonna look real good for anyone who is just skimming through the video and not actually subjecting themselves to 10 minutes of me meowing shittily. And then there's Animal Crossing, where beyond letting you collect an encyclopedia of fishes, also lets you sell them as one of your main activities in the game, a design choice that showcases perfectly how fishing came to appear in video games by complete mistake, despite how versatile and unique it is conceptually. I think fishing in games showed up because a lot of Japan, which shaped the video game market, has a strong fishing industry, thanks in part to its convenient geological location. They say write what you know, and I think that concept translates to video games pretty closely, although more as write what you know or you can pretend to know, and thus Japanese people being exposed to fishing so recurrently resulted in the slow apparition of fishing in games, from 1977's Gone Fishing, which, ew, look at this text-based garbage, to 1993's Link's Awakening, to Sega Bass Fishing that finally got fishing games out of repetitiveness, and so on and so forth. Even if the developers of these games weren't too fond of fishing, they'd inevitably show their feelings around fishing in all their variations. Some saw it as a relaxing hobby they remember from their childhood, some saw it as a highly exhilarating hunt activity, some show relaxing ponds and shores, while some have you running away from storms and the dangers of the sea, some even give you extensive information about the cast and its biology, and some games let you eat the fish you catch. And honestly, I jive with those people a lot, because for as much as I like fish, I think I like eating fish more, same way another person might like looking at nature more than actually fishing it, and this is why fishing in video games is so absolutely awesome. You may have asked throughout the video, hey, why are you doing cat noises when you're Bnnuy? But 1. Spring scene, my tail has molded back into a cat tail, which means I am technically cat right now, And 2, because not only are there very few games that have carrots and lettuce, but like, okay, let's do it real quick. Carrots are the best! Except no. They have too much sugar and they should be fed very sparingly to rabbits, as it can have an impact on their health if it becomes a recurrent activity. The myth that bunnies like carrots came about because bunnies like the leaves of carrots that are usually cut off by the time they are being sold to the public. And also, Bugs Bunny probably had a part. But see, rabbits don't make very fun noises to listen to. I say as I laugh to myself knowing no one is getting this far into the video and thus no one is actually listening to these bunny sounds, except, you know, you decided to watch the fake video, the idiots that cannot handle the original one because you're weak, you have a weak mentality. And I hope you enjoy the absolute L you've just taken. You completely ruined the joke of the end of this video, you know that? That's it, happy April Fools.